This is just
Yeah,
entertainment.
okay.
Well, you can tell yourself that if you like, Alan. I mean, I just see that as an outrage when you have religious zealots coming here day after day asserting their religious beliefs onto us.
You sound like Jim Jones.
Well, okay. You have a
You're gonna
religious belief, Alan. You have a religious belief in a sphere Earth. You think that is fine to assert on people, but it's not. I don't think that's fine at all. When people say okay, and I point out that they've got a religious faith, I'd say no, it's not okay. It's not in the slightest bit acceptable.
You know that's called religious persecution, right? And we killed that a long time ago, right?
But you don't think it's a religion, though, do you?
Sorry?
You don't think it's a religion, though, do
I
you?
thought I said okay enough times that you would have realised it's being sincere.
Oh, right. So you're happy to accept that it's a religious belief, then?
If religion is the practice of a belief that is dominant with presupposition, then I would have to say yes. But anyway, I've got an interesting question though, and this is an honest, interesting question. Of everybody that believes the Earth is flat, first of all, do you know? It's an assumption that everybody believes that, but I'm asking, what would be the proof that you would require to move away from that belief to a heliocentric, planet model?
Models are pseudoscience. We don't live on models. What are you talking about?
Okay, what proof do you require, Nathan?
Of what? You just said, what do I need to prove a model? Models are just pseudoscience. I don't live on a model.
I could answer him.
Hold on, yes.
What you need is a complete, absolute lack of long-distance observations at minimal observer height. You would need them to never, ever be in existence. And you don't. Because we do have long-distance observations at minimal observer height.
I think
that's what you would need.
To be fair, I think the question goes back to you more than it comes to us.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah, no, and I would answer it if anybody asked me.
What's the evidence that you accept that we live on a sphere?
Oh no, wait a minute. Now you're asking the inverse.
Well, you're asking me, and I think the question is more valid back to yourself when you.
No, I asked you to, what would be the evidence to change your belief?
Evidence of R would be a good start. Evidence of gravity would be another good start. Evidence of rotation of the Earth would be another good start. Any of them three, I'm pretty much there.
Molten curvature would be nice.
For me, it would be observable. There is no observable curve. If you show me an observable curve, then I would change my opinion.
Okay.
Proof of the molten iron core.
And
proof
water.
of a pressurized system living next to the vacuum of space without a membrane.
Water sticking to the outside of a ball. That would be nice.
So we're giving you like 6 there.
Yeah, but 2 of them are a little bit. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around actually.
Which 2 of them?
It's a bit of a gish gallop argument by us to give you 6, isn't it?
Which 2 are you having a hard time getting your head around?
So the molten core for one thing, because
right. So the Curie temperature of iron is about 768 degrees roughly. So when the Curie temperature is met of iron, then it can no longer hold a permanent magnetic state, and it can only be replaced with an induced magnetic field, which requires an external source of some kind. So if it loses its magnetism, and the core is supposed to be about 10,000 degrees Celsius, or might even be 20, the Curie temperature is long since exceeded. So where's the magnetic field coming from? And the argument is it's the dynamo effect. The rotation of the Earth causes an inertia inside.
But these are all very low probability theories. Well, they're not. They're
no,
not.
It's black and white. What do you mean?
They're not scientific fact, are
it's
they?
Absolutely 100% scientifically fact. The Curie temperature of iron is only 700 degrees. The claim of the core is...
Oh, no, I know that. I meant...
Yeah, can you let him finish his point, though? You wanted to understand it, so he's giving it to you in black and white, so just hear him out.
When the Curie temperature is met, iron can no longer hold its permanent magnetic state. It loses its magnetism. And the only way it can have magnetic state is if it's induced from a third party, like some other external source. And it actually states in the definition it must be an external source. In other words, it has to come from somewhere. Now, it doesn't actually come from anywhere on the heliocentric model, so it can't do that. The only other way it can do it is to self-perpetuate itself. And the claim is that the dynamo effect is the proof or the source for the magnetic field, in that molten iron, when it's moving under its own centrifugal forces, internal and convection currents that power it, creates a magnetic force. However, no evidence exists to prove that point is true. They can do it with sodium, but they cannot do it with iron. Now, the other main element in the Earth's crust is nickel, but nickel doesn't even have a Curie temperature. It's not got a magnetic state. They say that it's got some magnetic proponents to it, but it doesn't have a Curie temperature. It's not applicable. So the problem becomes, well, where does the magnetism come from? And my claim is, or my position is, that unless you can prove that there is a magnetic state to the Earth caused by iron being beyond its Curie temperature, then you can't claim that it's a molten core.
No, yeah. No, I understand that, but that's not something within my comprehension of being able to prove or disprove. I actually thought that, I wouldn't have thought that the scientific, not that I've looked into it, but I wouldn't have thought that the scientific community would have asserted that we have an absolute molten iron core and that under these temperatures.
You've never seen the diagram of the layers of the Earth?
Oh, I have, but
And
they are all based on probability and assumption than any kind of fact, because we know very little about what's underneath the ground, don't we? I mean,
right. So why is it taught to kids in
you
school
don't have to tell
as
them.
fact?
I don't know that. To me, it should be presented as a theory only to kids. A
Right.
lot of things
I can
should.
agree.
Sure, but most of what you believe and have faith in, your religion, is taught as fact.
Oh yeah, I absolutely disagree with that. But scientific fact is not fact, 100% fact. It's highest probability, isn't it?
Well,
What?
no, you have scientific
What?
advancement by
That's pseudoscience. Then.
you
No,
establish.
science can't claim absolutes.
Does
Isn't
it have
that
to be a pseudoscience then? It's pseudoscience.
well, everything is, yeah.
Yeah.
No, scientific method is science. It establishes a cause and effect.
Yes, but what I'm saying is science doesn't deal with absolutes. It deals with either degrees of probability, isn't it?
No, it deals with cause and effect. Yeah? It's hypothesis driven, prediction driven, scientific prediction driven.
Which leads you to believe that either something
No, it
is...
doesn't lead you to believe. It validates your hypothesis through systematic experimentation. Earlier, you explained that you didn't understand this, and I had to go through it in baby steps. Why are you asserting this?
I started with a question, if you rewind it back. I said, doesn't science never make any assertions to 100%? Doesn't it say that things are just degrees of probability?
Well, one thing it does say is that we live in a spinning ball, right?
Yeah, there's no probability about that. That's fact.
It's considered a scientific fact, and that we know that because they tell us that on the transantarctic flight, nobody will be allowed to take any scientific instrumentation on there for the purposes of conducting any testing of, quote, scientific fact. So the one fact that science does tell us is that we live on a spinning ball. Is that not correct?
I personally have not looked at science making that statement, but I would assume it to be true, yeah.
Oh, right. So is it another
Well,
assumption? So you
Well,
don't
not
actually
taught
think
that
that
in
science
school?
asserts we live on a spinning ball?
Oh, no,
Come on, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Brian Cox.
well, yeah.
You weren't
Yeah,
you weren't
they
taught that in school that we live on a planet?
I don't know. It was a long time ago. I forget now, and I wasn't interested in
Come
learning.
on, man.
So you're actually reluctant to say that science teaches us that we live on a spinning ball. Is
Oh
that
no,
right?
no. I've already said they do. You know, the curriculums do actually state that.
But you also said that science doesn't tell us any like hard fast facts, right? They don't assert anything is true.
They assert things as scientific fact. My question was, but isn't a scientific fact the most likely, highest probability theory beyond reasonable evidence?
No, you go through something called systematic experimentation to prove your hypothesis valid or invalid. That is
Yeah,
how
but
you
valid
establish something.
doesn't mean 100% true, does it?
Yeah, it means valid.
If you can prove a cause and effect relationship, it means that you've established the scientific method, or you've used the scientific method and established something called a scientific fact, like water will boil at a certain point, right?
Yes.
So unless
Right.
you're going to like try and dilute the importance of the scientific method with regards to establishing scientific facts, then I would reject what you just said as truth, because science does prove things.
Yeah, but I never understood science to deal with absolutes, and I've watched a few scientific religious debates before, And one of the things that the prominent scientist debater always says is there's no absolutes in science. There is only highest probability. So it's like me saying to you, I can't prove that I'm not a brain in a vat right now, or I can't prove that God doesn't exist, or I can, me simply asserting that water boils at X degrees changes based on the pressure of the surrounding area as well. So there's only, as far as I understand it, and as far as I kind of accept it and go along, is there's nothing's an absolute. Everything's just a probability.
No, that's philosophical. That's not science.
Correct.
I will, given my own possible misconceptions, I will look more into what scientific fact actually means.
You do that. And by the way, about the water boiling at 100 degrees, that is basically the standard for the standard atmosphere. And indeed, the pressure is lower or higher, or if there are solutions within the water, then yeah, that boiling point will change with different temperatures. But that's also been very clearly defined. So it is very constant. It is an absolute. It always works out in the exact same manner. So it's just wrong.
If science isn't setting out to prove things and only prove things as a high probability, why do they do it?
Because from those probabilities you can build predictions that can help us.
Well, I've already explained what a prediction in science is. It's called a hypothesis.
Okay,
it's a very special.
Helps us build hypothesis then.
Right. No, that's part of the scientific method that you're trying to invalidate by saying it's only based on probability.
I'm saying I've heard a lot of scientists say that there are no absolutes. There is only high degrees of probability.
All right. What kind of scientists were they? Were they applying the scientific method while they did that? Science is very narrow. It's the application of a method called the scientific method. That method is prediction-based. It is hypothesis-based. And it establishes a cause and effect relationship. That is what science is. You're saying, no, it doesn't do that. It just establishes a high probability. Well, no, you have a hypothesis. Yeah? You also have an alternate hypothesis. So you have a null and an alternate. Yeah? And you're trying to validate or invalidate your hypothesis. That's the purpose. You do this through systematic experimentation.
Yeah, but has not science changed its mind on a number of things?
Sorry, once you establish a cause and effect with an independent and a dependent variable, you have established what is the cause of the effect. That's the point of doing it.
So, Mr. Dean, do you believe then science is an extrapolation based on a possibility?
Me personally, yes, I would never assume that whatever scientists say, I would never take something as fact.
We're talking about two different things. You're talking about what scientists say. We are talking about science.
Yes, and I assumed that science was about probabilities more than absolutes, because I don't get how you can claim absolutes in certain areas that have too many input variables. That would be like saying everything would need to be comprehensible and simplistic, which is the aim of it, but some things just aren't, and they're unexplained. But you still have to build predictions off them to be able to use them.
You are wrong, right? There is, I'll say it for the third time, there is a very special kind of prediction. It is called a hypothesis. A hypothesis is a scientific prediction. The prediction has an assumption in it, a presumption of a cause, isolated. So you can cause an effect on a dependent variable, your observed phenomena. This method establishes the cause of an effect.
And you're saying that's always an absolute if that is the case.
It is established through systematic experimentation.
I know how it's established. I'm saying, are you saying that is that the results of that, if proven, are an absolute beyond any doubt whatsoever?
You have established the cause of your effect. That is the purpose of science. To establish cause and effect relationships. That's the point.
So, yes, then. Is that the answer to my question that I just asked? Anyway, the other point then that I had a problem with was, or that I had questions about. I can't actually remember now what the evidence was for it.
What do you think of the idea of buildings being able to be loomed up over hills or the curvature of the Earth? In your model, do you think that's possible to see entire towns loomed up?
Yeah, yeah. Because one of the first things that I did is I got one of the images that says, you know, you shouldn't be able to see this, and I modelled the Earth at the diameter that it is supposed to be. And I planted buildings, you know, 11 kilometers away, put myself at head height and had a look, and it matched perfectly with the photo.
No, I mean, let's suppose in that the photograph 18 miles away, and that town shouldn't be seen at all across the water. You shouldn't see it at all on any model of the flat Earth. The ball Earth, and yet you're seeing down to ground level. Do you believe that entire town has been loomed up?
Well, through refraction or Fresnel effect or something like that.
Through refraction, the entire town, not just a stray beam of light, but you know, millions and millions of different light particles all lifting themselves up at the same rate in the same proportion to show you the entire town just as you would see it if you was in the town itself.
Dean.
Do you think that's possible?
Dean, you still there?
Hello.
Here.
Hello.
Just let it be
Is he
silent. It's
I
fine.
think
Just let it be silent.
he's gone, hasn't he?
No,
No,
still
I
there.
think he's gone. I don't see him.
Dean, yeah, Dean's not there anymore.
Oh, really?
Dean left the group chat.
Oh, right. That's interesting.
Oh well, we were just about to get somewhere.
Maybe.
Because in his model that he made, this 11-kilometer distance, it matched the photograph. Well, let's see him try and match a photograph that doesn't match the model.
Hello?
Hello, Dean.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Sorry, it just went, video session ended. I didn't know whether you kicked me or whether...
No, just a glitch, I think.
Okay.
So, did you hear my question?
I did not, I'm really sorry.
Oh, right, okay.
The windows...
So if you saw a town, if you was looking across an ocean and you was looking...
Oh, sorry, that question, yes. I did start... you're on about the Fresnel effect or the refraction or the way that light can distort through a... You know,
yeah, I'm not talking about being distorted. I'm talking about you being able to see the town as if you was actually inside the town. Literally, everything loomed up at the same rate, same proportions, houses, windows, everything you could think of, all there, right? Mm-hmm. And it shouldn't be there. So in your model, that has to be loomed up. Do you not think that's slightly ridiculous?
I don't think it's ridiculous. I think it's an observed phenomenon that requires investigation. I'm not someone that says, "Haha, that proves flat Earth," or "No, that's wrong." It's interesting to me. Like I say, that the experiments that FE Core are doing with, that they have done with lasers and now doing with the Wi-Fi, which is going to be across 45 kilometers. at the Straits of Dover from the Netherlands is going to be interesting.
So you think that that's something?
Sorry,
that's
140.
possible?
Sorry, I said that wrong. 145. They've already done a 40-kilometer Lite test.
Right. So your answer is that you know it's an observed phenomena.
Yeah.
But you don't know whether it conforms to the flat model or the ball model.
Yeah, it's not that it's hard for me to accept a conclusion based off either. It's just that I'd need additional steps to be able to figure out. So,
okay. Well, if I ask you another question, if you was on one side of a hill and someone else was on the other side of the hill, how long would you keep looking at that hill, expecting to see them loomed up?
The hill, I wouldn't.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Right.
But this is what in your model, this looming effect would have to happen.
Yeah, but I mean,
stare at the hill and stare at the hill, and then eventually you would see your friend loomed up on the right day, weather conditions. He would be loomed up over the hill, just like the buildings are in this scenario. This town that's 18 miles away that shouldn't be there, it is being loomed up just like that same scenario.
Yeah, I've never, to be honest, I have looked at this, and like I said, I've replicated them in 3D. I've never seen an image where I've thought, this is entirely impossible, so this must prove that the ground is flat. I've always seen slight distortions that lead me to believe that, there is a possibility of, atmospheric interference with the light rays. Now, don't get me wrong, that interference, I'm a little bit confused as being uniform, if that's your question. But it doesn't automatically take me to this is flat Earth.
Sorry, why would you say that?
I mean,
so hold on just 1 second. So you see a building that is there, you can see it. Yeah? Why would you say that that's an observed phenomena?
Why would I say it's an observed phenomena? Because
it's just a building. That's a concrete noun. I see something. That's a concrete noun, sir. That's not an observed phenomena. Why would you assert such nonsense?
Whatever.
What do you mean, whatever? You just said you observe a phenomena. Yeah. I'm asking what phenomena. Now, I already know that you are saying we are seeing something that shouldn't be there, but it only shouldn't be there because mathematics say it shouldn't be there. Therefore, you label it an observed phenomena. I just see a building. It's just a concrete noun. I see a building. There's a building, right? So why are you labeling it as a phenomena? Because it shouldn't be there. Are you suggesting that these buildings aren't actually there?
No, I'm suggesting that the images that I've looked at show considerable distortion at the lower levels.
And did you model that distortion?
Sorry, say again?
Did you model that distortion?
Did I model it?
Are you deaf?
No, I didn't model it.
Well, that makes your model completely invalid then.
I'm not saying...
Don't mutter. That makes your model invalid.
Okay.
Not okay. You didn't model the effect. You said you'd modelled refraction. Did you not?
No.
You didn't model refraction. You didn't apply 76R to these buildings that shouldn't be there because they're blocked by Earth curve. You said you modelled this.
Oh, sorry. No, I didn't model refraction. I modelled the Earth. Yes, now I'm following you. Yes, I've modelled the curvature of the Earth to scale and put buildings on there. Yes, correct.
And you couldn't see them because the Earth was in the way according to the model, correct?
I couldn't see the base of them, but I could see the tops and things. Yes, correct.
Right. What about the ones where we can see the base? Ranty's pictures we're talking about, where he sees beach to beach.
Yes. Now, like I said to you before, that to me is interesting. That's what that is. It's incredibly interesting.
Why? It's just a building. Why on earth would you assert that it's interesting? It's just a building. Why would that be interesting?
Because given the supposition of my religious belief of a globe, it's interesting.
Why?
Because I'd have to look into it to try and explain it to have an
look into what? It's just a building. I'm not following you. What's interesting? What would you have to look into? You just see a building. What's so interesting?
The distortion or the effects that can happen at acute angles to either water or surfaces with differential heat.
What's that got to do with anything to do with sphere Earth? Why would this be interesting to you?
It's called Fresnel, diffusion, diffraction, and absorption coefficients and scatter coefficients.
No, it's not. It's a 7.6R begging the question fallacy. That's what refraction is in your model. Why are you talking about these crazy effects of actual refraction which you can't model?
No, I can actually model Frenzel light on surfaces, and it's
And you've
something
modelled
that
and you have modelled that in reference to these images.
no, not yet. I've only
Sorry,
just,
so why the hell would you tell me you can model it?
Because I'm capable.
Of modelling it in reference to the pictures we are discussing.
To look at what conclusions that were, to look at the result of what that might
Sorry,
bring.
have you modelled these images with the demonstrated refraction as part of the model?
Not yet, no.
So that would be a no. You have not modelled refraction.
No, I said I could.
Oh, right.
And Frenzel effect of optics along a surface.
So you can model the refraction we see in these images along the full length, left to right, when we have this distortion. You can model something with an inferior mirage below it being loomed up from beyond a wall of water that blocks our view and has an angular size bigger than the thing in the distance. You can model that refraction to sit perfectly on the horizon of a sphere Earth. I expect to see that.
I didn't. That isn't my claim. My claim is I can.
Sorry,
simulate.
we see refraction in the images. I'm asking if you can model it. It's very straightforward. I also want to know why this image is interesting. It's just a building.
Are we actually looking at an image now, or just?
We're talking about Ranty's observations that you claim to have modelled.
Oh, wait a minute.
Sorry, have you not modelled them? Was that a lie?
I said I've modelled the Earth.
Right,
sorry, who gives a crap? So you're telling me that you're capable of begging the question? Wow, we're talking about specific images. Ranty was very detailed about his observation.
Okay, cool. Yes, now I'm looking at it. Yes.
Okay, so you can model this. That's great, because there's two things here that you need to think about on how to work it out on your model. Mm-hmm. The first being that none of these buildings should be seen from an elevation of 1 foot and 18 miles, right?
So that's 18 miles.
Yes.
Okay.
And the second one is, so these are all loomed up in your model, right? So it's loomed up, but also then we have the refraction layer, which is evident and runs through the image, but it runs through the image where my cursor is right now. It doesn't run through the bottom of the image like you said. You said the issues that you see right above the water. On this particular day, it appeared to me that I got underneath the actual refraction layer. And this is why we're able to see shore to shore. And the refraction layer starts here where my cursor is, where you can see 4 windows. There is only actually 2 windows on this building. It's squared off this building, which is normally rounded. However, we are seeing shore to shore, and that is evidence when we come over to this right-hand side. We've got things like a medical building that's here. We've got the Barrow Town Hall. We've also got a rock that sits in the water, that's actually showing up in front of this building. Mm-hmm. So this is a shore to shore observation that's loomed up in your model and has a refraction layer that is above the actual ground zero or parallel part here at the bottom. It is actually here where my cursor is. So if you can model that, I would appreciate it, because you have 2 phenomena there to work with.
Yeah, so Frenzel effect deals with the
it only deals with it on a plane. We can model this.
It actually does deal with it on any object, any surface that you want, because it's about the path that a photon takes inside. So, forgetting the fact that this is the atmosphere for 2 seconds, Frenzel effect on car paint, for instance, you would put metal, red flaky paint down, and then you would cover it with a layer of lacquer. And the more that you make that layer of lacquer, the more Frenzel effect you make on harsh angles, whereby you could hide a light behind the car, but you'll be able to see the light actually on the rims of the car, because what it's actually doing is it's penetrating that layer of matter and bouncing around, which is a scatter coefficient based on.
I don't think you understand the problem with this.
Sorry, bear with me a second, Ranty.
Oh no, I do understand the problem with this.
The problem is that this is a hologram in your model. This is a hologram. This isn't really there. That's a hologram. So you've got a hologram that is now being miraged on itself.
Do you know the heights of any of those buildings, or one that's actually a square or something?
Well, these buildings here, these buildings here, they're the Devonshire Dock Hall. They are 18 miles away, and the height of them is 167 feet.
167. Ah, crap.
To the top.
What's that in meters? I'm afraid.
50 meters, 52 meters, something like that.
Give me 2 seconds.
It's looming.
And Rancy, just to make sure
50.9.
these buildings are supposed to be completely gone.
Sorry, 50.9 meters.
50.9.
There you go.
So
Elevation 1 foot.
These buildings should be completely gone.
1.
Yes.
We're back to this. We've
50
got buildings, we just see them. There they are. Yeah, they've got a bit of refraction applied. What you have detailed in terms of the Fresnel effect is in no way, shape or form ever applied to the refraction calculations made when referencing a sphere Earth. You have a... Go on.
It also defies the trajectory of light according to Fermat's principle. Light travels in straight lines. It doesn't travel through a Fresnel zone.
Right, so wait a minute. And how far away was this in kilometres, those buildings, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know. It's 18 miles.
Oh, 18 miles. Jesus, I can't do... Wait a minute.
28.97.
Sorry?
28.97 if it's exactly
Awesome.
18 miles.
So,
Kilometres, that is. Right, why are we doing this exactly?
yes, I am just about to have a look at that.
You're playing with the curve calculator?
No.
Well, you know, if you really want to, you could focus on this land that's visible to the left of it here, which is only 30 feet tall. Perhaps you could put that in your model as well. 30 feet tall, just across here.
You being an airplane pilot, I would think it would be pretty dangerous for buildings that weren't there to just start appearing like they're there.
Yeah.
Dean, you said you got...
that would make...
You got an air model...
air travel very dangerous.
Sorry, I just feel like we're kind of getting a bit vague here. We've just rattled off some numbers to you. What was the point in all that exactly?
Oh, I'm just inputting it into a scale model at the moment.
All right,
okay. Just for for me, basically. Not.
I encourage you to look at Ranty's videos, model or some of those observations, and come back to the next show and show what shows in your Earth size model.
So you'll be modelling this refraction then?
Give me a second.
Yeah, so you need to put the refraction in the middle of the image, and then you need to put...
Oh, wait a minute. Everybody stop telling me what I need to do at the moment. I'm just getting the relative distances and things correct.
Okay. Well, that's just to the tallest building. I mean, these
I'm sorry, I'm going
down here.
So I'm going off the building that you said was...
This one in the middle.
Yeah, 50 meters, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was meters, right? Not feet.
50 meters, yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough.
That's just to this building. But you could also take this one here, which is about 25
wait a minute, I'm
meters.
not looking. Wait a minute, let me have a look.
So these jaggedy rooftops here are 25 meters tall.
I'll just take the 50-meter ones at the moment.
I'm sure you would.
Well, okay. Wait a minute, I'll put one at the side then. So what are they? Sorry. They're
you've got
20 meters.
25 meters. Yeah, you've also got a sandbank that you could use if you want that's perhaps only 30 feet tall.
Yeah, I'm having to see on the perception of a globe Earth what needs to happen for me to be able to see this crap.
Okay.
Whereas it's fine looking at a photo, but I'm looking at a two-dimensional photo across a distance that is really hard to conceive, across a curvature which I already know is, or I already assume is infinitesimally small. I need to be able to... I need to be able to freeze this in time and go backwards and forwards and look around. And the only way that I can do that, or the easiest way for me, is just model it with the perceived arc of the Earth and put in the actual size of the objects and things. So one is 50, one is 25, let's say. Let's go to the perspective view and settle this down properly. I think I'm still sharing my screen as well, so
okay.
you actually see what I'm doing anyway.
Right. I'll knock mine off then.
Right, so I have got...
I've just got a black screen from you, actually.
Oh, crap.
Has anybody else got his screen? Because I don't.
Oh, no, sorry. It cut out, didn't it? I was sharing my screen. Give me 2 seconds.
You got a donation, Nath?
Yeah, shout out to Mixlix. Much obliged.
Right, can people, or can you see my screen?
Yes, we see now. Yes, that's great.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so this is 25 meters high. This is 50 meters high, basically. So this is what I'm seeing, and this is the Earth measured, to a scale, which is a bit awesome. If I go to person 2, which is 2 meters high. And let's have a look through the camera then, and then I'll see what I need to be able to do to have a look at this. Interesting. That is incredibly interesting to me. Because what we're looking at there, if you can see it, that little speck is the building. So no matter how much I, zoom in at, I don't know if anybody's looking. The problem is I've got to go through this to get there at that distance.
Would that be the bulge?
Oh, it's not bulge, but this is modelled. If you look at the right view, this is the actual arc of the Earth at 6,000 odd kilometers.
So what was
radius.
it that you had to go through? I didn't quite catch that.
All right, so there is no bulge, obviously, because it's a downward angle. It doesn't bulge up or anything. Because you're always looking at a descending.
There is supposed to be a bulge. So what's the obstruction on your model that you're seeing?
There is no obstruction. It's the fact that this is further round the arc.
Sorry, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah, we have an obstruction figure in the curve mathematics based on the standard model. We have a sagittor. You have a rising Earth bulge between you and target that causes the obstruction according to the standard model of Earth. Why are you saying there is no bulge? I know why you're saying it, because it's not possible to model. You can angle your camera down and kind of induce a bulge.
No. What I'm actually saying is there's a bulge if I look up. It's not... There's no bulge when you're
getting in the way?
At a decreasing surface. You're just looking at a decreasing surface. There is an arc that goes away, yes. But I don't call that a bulge in 3D graphics.
So what's the obstruction then in your model?
The arc, and it's further behind that. The arc.
Sorry. So could you also call an arc a bulge as it's getting in the way?
No.
Why not?
No.
No. It is just a bulge is something that to me in 3D graphics comes up and goes down. This doesn't. From my viewpoint,
if you throw a straight line from the observer to the bottom of the building.
Guys, wait a minute. No, can I just explain something here? I'm talking in 3D graphics. So first of all, let me make an observation on this. That is a building. I clearly cannot see it over this horizon line. Absolutely, at the distances that I've been given, at the scale that I've been given. Yeah, right. Absolutely. This here is not something that rose up. It's always curving away from it in my reality.
Yes, but relative.
So yes, but if you were to say relative between me and that,
relative from the observer to the target, is there a bulge between the observer and the target or not?
If you make it relative point to point, yes.
Correct.
Right. So there's a bulge in the way between us and the target. Thank you.
Yeah.
So why isn't that there in the picture? Do you think?
Call it a bulge.
Hold on, we're coming to the conclusion now. Why isn't that in the picture? Would you think?
The arc of the Earth is hiding it.
No, it's not hiding it. We
do
see the buildings.
You mean in your picture?
Sorry, this is just a model.
Yes.
Sorry, let's just get that absolutely clear. What you have on your screen now is just a bullshit pseudoscience proof of nothing model. Okay?
If you want to say that the evidence that I've got on screen...
Sorry, it's not evidence. Do you live in that computer simulation?
The evidence that I've got
Do you live in the computer simulation? Is that where your feet are planted, in that computer simulation?
No.
No. So it's a proof of nothing, pseudoscience, assuming model that proves zero. Right. Now we have reality, photographs of buildings. Now you think they're interesting, and I assert that you think they're interesting because in your world, they should not be there. Would I be correct in that assumption? That you think the buildings we see aren't there?
No, should not be visible.
Sorry, we do see them. They are visible. We just established that.
Yes.
Well, so we see them, don't we?
Yes.
Right. So why would that
your
be
model is
interesting?
wrong,
Why would that be
basically.
interesting? We just see a building across the way. Why would that be interesting?
Because you shouldn't be able to.
Sorry, because your pseudoscience proof of nothing simulation says we shouldn't see them.
Because the
Sorry,
arc of the
I'll repeat it. You seem to be hesitant. You're saying we shouldn't see them because your proof of nothing, pseudoscience, earth begging the question model says we shouldn't see them. Even though I don't live in your model. It's just a model. But we do see the buildings. Why would you assume that we can't see them just because your pseudoscience model says so?
Why would I assume that we don't see them?
Yes, you're telling me they're not there. Are you dumb? You just said we shouldn't be able to see them, implying that we can't see them and it's some sort of observed...
Wait a minute.
Shut up! Shut up!
Putting thoughts in my
Shut
mind.
up! I haven't finished my sentence. You would assert that it's some sort of phenomena based on what your proof of nothing model asserts.
I wouldn't assert anything.
You think they're not there.
Okay, you think that round is a square. If we're just going to chuck allegations at each other, they've got no
No,
grounding
don't
in
throw
reality.
them.
No, it's not an allegation. According to your begging the question proof of nothing, are assuming perspective omitting Earth curve model, they shouldn't be there.
Correct.
Right. But they are there.
Observable in the photo. Correct.
Obviously and observably there. So
Correct.
why would you assert that they're not there? The answer is because
No,
mathematics...
wait a minute. I think you've got this confused.
I'm not confused. You think you don't see something that is actually there.
Don't try to obfuscate it. The
No,
model didn't work.
Now,
With
can everybody just calm
reality.
down 2 seconds? Can
Dean,
everybody calm
your
down?
model based on your
Oh
globe
my goodness.
system
Can you
Oh
stop
my-
interrupting
showed
him?
something that
Shut
did
up, Dean.
not
Dean,
correlate
hold on,
with
Arwen.
the
Let me just
observation.
berate this asshole. Shut up and listen to what he is saying to you, Dean. Do not interrupt with, oh my god. Do not agree or nod or say no. Wait till he finishes what he says and then give us your religious belief about it.
Right. So, yeah, your model, and I'm pretty impressed with what you did there. Looked pretty good.
Cheers.
Pretty, yeah, that's nice. But the thing is, you tested the observations, the distances, you inputted all the data
Yep.
according to the model, which is based on how it is supposed to be according to the globe system.
Mhm.
And then you did an observation. You rendered an observation within that system.
Mhm.
And it did not match the reality, the real observations that we did with camera in
Yeah,
the
the
real
photo.
world. That has only one logical conclusion to it. And that is that your model doesn't work. It's flawed. It's broken. It does not yield a real result. It doesn't give you the output that matches the real life observation.
So now can I answer what I was trying to say?
Can you respond to my
Yes,
statement?
yes. My answer throughout the last 10 minutes of rant was, yes, you are all correct. The model that I have just put down here right now, based on a distance of 28.97 kilometers away with a building that is whatever the size of the building, I have observed in my little model here that I should, this little speck, which you can all see if you're still looking, that little speck is the building and it's behind this much of surface. So yeah, that's incredibly interesting to me. I do not for 1 second assert that the building is there. We just can't see it, or it's an invisible, or any bullshit like that. I'm actually now saying, yes, this is actually quite interesting. I will look into what could cause this.
Cause
One of those
what?
possibilities.
Hold on.
One of those possibilities is the Earth is flat.
What do you mean causes it? Causes what? We just see a building. What? There is no
image.
cause here. The only
image.
reason for there to be a cause is if you use a begging the question proof of nothing Earth model that tells you it shouldn't be there, suddenly it becomes interesting. I just see a building. Why is it interesting?
All buildings are interesting.
Well, it's just a building, a photograph of a building. Suddenly
you,
you
but I'm
think,
sure the
oh, I'm
architect
getting
that
muted
designed
by
it
trolls
had
now.
different ideas.
So this Dunning-Kruger asshole is coming in to mute the hell out of me while I talk to the Hangout, right?
You broke up then. Sorry, I didn't hear.
No, I'm getting muted by some asshole who doesn't want me to point out the reality that you're dealing with. You're saying that it's interesting because
No,
we shouldn't be
breaking
able
up
to
again.
see it based on your begging the question proof of nothing Earth model.
Sorry, you did break up again.
Yeah, I can
I'm
see
saying
that I'm
what?
getting muted, yeah, and people can still
I
hear
don't-
me no matter how much I get muted. I'm just unmuting myself. You can ignore my question, but you're basing the fact that it shouldn't be there on the fact that your model says it shouldn't be there, but we do see it. You think that's interesting because a model says we shouldn't see it.
I find the whole thing interesting. Yes. If you're talking, I can't hear you. I don't know what
that's
it's.
because the trolls constantly.
Yeah, it's because when you have a crap point and you say it's interesting that a model says we shouldn't see something, well, that doesn't mean anything. We do see it. We just see it, right? But you say it's interesting because a pseudoscience model says we shouldn't, which is absolutely meaningless. Why does it suddenly become interesting?
I'm not going to answer
Is
that
it
question because it's
Is
pretty.
it interesting to you because it'll make you rethink your reality and what you believe? Is that why it's interesting?
It's interesting because I cannot explain it at this moment in time, and I
There's
love
nothing
finding
to
things that
explain.
I, can't
I
explain.
keep saying this. Explain what? We just see a building. What are you trying to explain? It's a concrete noun. There's a building. What are you trying to explain? We just see it.
You keep modeling these observations and you're going to realize it's flat, bro.
Nathan, I think what he's trying to say is that he accepts that there's an issue. I don't think he's trying to argue that.
I don't. Well, I'm trying to establish what that issue is. What's the issue here? We just see a building. Why is there an issue suddenly?
Well, the issue is
The
that
model
you've
doesn't
stated multiple times that I have a religious belief. If I've got a religious belief and you say, "Hey, there is no God," and here's a little bit of evidence that might support that fact, I'm not going to go, "Yay, there's no God, awesome."
Hang
I'm
on a
going to
minute.
say, "Well, hang about. That's an interesting thing. I'm going to have to ponder it because I've got to find that that's the highest probable explanation."
There's
is
no
that the Earth-
explanation required. We just see a building. I keep trying to ask you what's so interesting about it. What needs explaining? There's a building. I see it. What explanation is required? Why is that interesting? What's the big deal? It's just a
Nathan.
building, right?
Nathan, we got him on the fence. Okay,
Yeah, I'm going to keep hammering the death out of him until he admits that it's only interesting because he's got a pseudoscience religious belief in a globe, and that pseudoscience religious belief says the building shouldn't really be there.
Well,
Yeah,
he
we're-
needs
we're
some time
we're
to let
actually-
it sink in. He is realizing this.
Maybe.
He's basically saying
He
that.
just had a good laugh a second ago, Arwin. I don't think he's realising it. I think he's taking the piss.
Maybe we'll find
I
out
am.
sooner or
I
later.
assure you that I'm not taking the piss.
All right. Well, why
my
is this
laughing was
building...
not at the
Okay,
facts.
listen to my question again, right? Listen carefully. Why is a building we just take a picture of, anything more than just a building we take a picture of, why is it suddenly very interesting, that building?
A building in itself depends on the. I'm a designer, so the building might be interesting.
Why?
No.
Why is it interesting in context to this debate?
Oh, because on my assumed input mechanics that I have.
Sorry, by assumed input mechanics, do you mean religious belief?
No, he means his model.
Yeah, that's his religious belief, Anthony.
So
You need to give him some time.
Let me rephrase it because it's not going in. Why can we see it in real world, but on your model it said we couldn't?
Oh, I don't know.
Can you say your model is broken?
I wouldn't have thought so because
Wouldn't have thought so. It doesn't work. What kind of dumbass are you? You don't think it's broken? It doesn't work.
Dean, do us a favor.
I explained that 5 minutes ago.
Dean,
it doesn't coincide with real life observation.
Do us a favor, Dean. Would you model it on a flat plane and tell us if once you zoom in, could you see it?
Oh no, of course I could.
Right. So of the two probabilities, which one is likely? Is it the one that can't see it because of the Earth curve bulge thing that's in the way? Or might it possibly be that the Earth might not be a bulge-ridden sphere thing and we see it because it's not a curve?
Because it's there.
If I was presented only with those two, then yes, I'd support what you just said.
Great. So we've presented you some evidence, real world, that we can see stuff because it's there that defies your model that you demonstrated.
Mm-hmm.
And you've not really produced any evidence whatsoever for this view that you have this belief, but you still think it's a ball, right?
I don't think it's a ball. I think it's a planet, and there's a high probability of it.
Well, you know the size that they tell us it is, right?
Yeah, because I've had to input the radius here, which is
Correct.
a radius of 63,701 kilometers, it says.
So unless you're going to argue that there's numerous mirrors dotted along the surface that are going to bounce the light around it, how is it possible that we can see that stuff?
I don't know. That's one of the most powerful things that you can say. I don't know, and I'm interested in finding out.
What do you
why
mean you
don't
don't know?
take some
Well,
time
hold
to
on.
think about
Hold
it?
on. What do you mean you don't know why you can see it? You can just see it because you've got a set of eyeballs. What are you talking about? How many times have I got to ask you this question? There's nothing interesting. You open your eyes, you look, you see.
Is that you don't know how to shake it off and just kind of open the eyes and wake up and say, oh shit, something,
That kind
is
of
wrong.
stuff takes time, guys. We all had like the 3 months sleepless nights. It takes time to sink in. Okay, I genuinely think that Dean here just got on the fence. He is realizing it now. He just needs some time to let it sink in. It's no use like going all hardcore on him and just demanding he surrender like it's some inquisition. He needs some time to think about this.
Yeah, okay.
I
Try and
do
think
feel
about
like
this, Dean.
he
Those
does-
buildings are just there. We can just see them. Nothing special about that. Just see them.
There is,
Go
but
up
then
there,
I- but then I-
model more of Ranty's observations. Go to Ranty's channel, subscribe, look at his observations, model a bunch of them, and bring some next time you join.
It's all right. Who's Ranty?
The guy who took the
Ranty
pictures you were
Flat
looking at.
Earth.
Oh, right.
He does
Okay.
great observations with the P900 almost daily.
Okay, I shall have a look at his channel and get on there now, actually.
Excellent.
I'll give you some kudos. You seem to have slightly more intellectual honesty than most of the Globers that come in here.
Well, there's one observation that I've always had in the flat Earth globe planet people or whatever, and that's that people tend to try and defend, like actually Nathan says, they try and defend them like religious beliefs. And I've seen similar things, in when people are defending Christianity or any of the denominations of Christianity, which I think there's 30-odd thousand, or any of the other religious practices, and people get very heated, and sometimes it's good entertainment, and sometimes it's it's fun, but it's never a good idea. Whether it doesn't matter who's right or wrong, and it doesn't matter whether you believe you are or not. You have to always consider the possibility that you are wrong. And the strongest thing that you can say sometimes is, I can't explain that and I don't know, but I find it interesting, because to me that means I'm going to look into it. Now, in this as an example, I find that photo interesting if I take it on face value and all that kind of stuff.
Why?
So,
It's just a picture of a building.
No, please let me finish, Nathan. And I know you love, and this is one of the other problems why you will get people frustrated and then leave, which I'm sure makes brilliant entertainment for audience members and things like that, but it doesn't actually get you to a logical, nice debate and exploring how someone thinks, because it doesn't matter that I've got a different view to you or that anybody has. It's actually interesting to hear why.
Sorry, the view we have is of a building.
I was talking metaphorical view of everything, but yes,
Well, I'm
you
not.
have as a building.
I know you like to talk in metaphors. I'm talking about a building we see. We just see it. You look at it, I look at it, we just see it. Right? But for some reason, suddenly that becomes very interesting to you. And I would like to know why.
I think I've already told you that.
Because he's a
Dean.
Glober, Nathan.
Dean,
what
just
it
give
is,
it
it's a
some
global
time.
Why? Just tell me again. I don't understand why you'd see a picture of a building and suddenly go, oh, this is something I must look into. You just see a building.
It's if you do it like that, then yeah, that's ridiculous. But a building at distance holding a belief of a curved surface, then yes, I find that interesting. I don't care how you want to phrase it or how you want to say, oh, my view is completely opposite to yours. I don't give a shit. I'm saying I find it interesting because it contradicts with what I think, but I'm big enough to say that. And I don't mind saying it. But I've also got other problems, and there are a few other problems with that.
Mm-hmm.
So the issues for me, and it's the same thing about laser tests that FE Core did, these are on a scale that's actually quite hard for me to comprehend the full breadth of.
Not really. It's 18 miles. Can I ask you a question? When you said before that you were you couldn't explain it, there is an obvious explanation for why we see them buildings.
Well, there's one explanation that you can put forward, yes, but there's a few that isn't the only explanation of why we'd be able to see those buildings.
Okay,
We
so
don't
are
need,
there others?
I keep saying this. Why do we need an explanation?
You don't.
There you go.
We don't need any explanation.
You don't know. No.
Right. Why do you need an explanation?
Because it doesn't fit with my perception
Religious
of reality.
belief? Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't fit with your religious belief, so suddenly it needs explanation, does it? I just look at it and see it.
No. Not explanation. It needs investigation.
Why? Because it doesn't fit with your religious belief. So things that don't fit with your religious belief suddenly require exploration, do they?
Absolutely, or else I would be a following dick that doesn't actually want to verify anything.
What, verify what? You've just seen a building. What are you trying to verify? You just see it. You're trying to verify that it's not there?
No.
Right, but you just see it, so what needs verifying?
How I see the light from it, if there is a curve. And if I can't find any, then yeah, there's a high probability that I don't see a curve at that point, or that it's
that you're basically
all right.
saying
All right.
that your model is broken.
Can we try it from a different angle? Ranty, are you still here?
I think we've been joined by John as well. You appreciate that you're live, John, I hope.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'd like 90 seconds before you close out the show, please.
Yeah, if you like.
Before that, Dean, do you have Skype? Because I would love to contact you and just have a good one-on-one conversation.
Yeah,
with
sure.
you.
Okay, go ahead, John.
You getting ready to close out, Nathan?
Yeah.
All right, listen closely. I'm as serious as a heart attack here. These last two debates, this was the single greatest performance by a flat earther that I've ever witnessed. If you are right here, Nathan Oakley, I decorate you myself. This is the standard. So, flat earthers, listen up. Before you go out and frequent these debate circles just to hear your own voice and make a horse's ass out of yourself and by proxy your fellow flat earthers, you need to listen to these two debate shows over and over again to permanently imprint this standard of performance in your mind. Okay? Thanks for your ear. Have a nice day.
And on that very complimentary note, I'll say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you hated the show, you know precisely what to do. But if you like the show, maybe consider sharing it with a friend or subscribing if you have not done so already. Also, a massive thanks to all who hit the super chat. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!